Okay, welcome. Happy Thursday, everyone. This is the Indiana Google Educator Group. This is our first launch week, so we're really excited that you're here with us tonight, and even more excited that we have Matt Miller from Ditch That Textbook, who's going to be presenting tonight on different things you can do with Google Slides. So I'm really pumped about this. I love Google Slides as well, so I can't wait to hear what he has to say. So I don't think I introduced myself. I'm Shannon Quigley. I'm one of the Learn Captains for the Indiana Google Educator Group. So if you are watching, if you want to go ahead and just drop your name and where you're from in the chat to get us started, I will turn it over here to Matt shortly because I know he's got a ton of information to share with us, and we've got a short amount of time, so he's going to really get us some good content going. So without further ado, I'll let Matt get started.
All right. Hey, I appreciate it, Shannon. Hey, everyone. It's good to see you. Super excited to be a part of this launch for the Google Educator Group. I know, so many Google using educators over the year have been a big inspiration and encouragement to me. And so I'm happy to get to give back and share some things that have worked for me. I did want to let everybody know real quick about the t-shirt that I was wearing. Since we're doing the Indiana Google Educator Group, I had to show this off. This is one of the original IN eLearn t-shirts. P.S. If you are free after this after this video is over at 9:00 over on the Twitter hashtag INELearn, we're going to be doing the regular weekly chat. So definitely feel free to go check that out. So I just thought I would rep the Twitter chat just a little bit during the presentation today. So anyway, we're going to be talking about this topic that you see on my screen on this little document. Take Google Slides to the next level. Google Slides has been my go-to Google tool pretty much my entire teaching career. It was my favorite, way back when I started using Google in the classroom, and it's still my favorite today, just because there's so much we can do with it. If you're thinking that Google Slides is just for people that want to do speeches, want to do verbal presentations in front of the staff, in front of the class or something, oh man, you are in for a ride tonight, because there's a lot more that you can do with it. Whenever you start to think of those slides, not as presentation slides in a slide deck, but when you start to think of them as almost like a digital piece of paper or like a digital poster board or something, it starts to change things a little bit. And all of the cool multimedia that we can pull together with it is super, super fun. So I've got a whole bunch of ideas, and they're all right over here on this document. And so I'm going to zoom in on this just a little bit to see if you can see it a little easier. There's the link right there. If somebody wants to type that into the chat so everybody can click on it, I probably would, but I can't type into the chat from here. So the link is ditch.link/GEG slides. Boom, there it is right there. Thank you, Shannon. So yeah, ditch. Oh, and it looks like there it is. There it is. You got it. Very good. That link will take you to this document. And I made this document just for all of you that are watching. This is going to have a whole bunch of the examples that I'm going to show on my screen. So if you see something in this presentation and you go, oh, wow, that's cool. Oh, I can't remember how he did that. You can always come right back to this document, and it's going to be waiting right here. So when it comes to Google Slides, there are a ton of things that I think that we can do that are super fun. So let me just dive right into one of my absolute favorite ones. See, one of the things that I really like about Google Slides is that you can set up these templates for your students. So that's kind of like you've got this slide and you've put some stuff on it to kind of create an activity. Think of it almost like a worksheet, only this gives you way more potential than a worksheet. And then students are able to go do things on it. And so I've got a variety of different activities like that to share with you that you can do. Here's one of them. So check this out. I'm going to start on a blank one right here. This particular activity I thought would be super, super fun because we all know that students do love their social media. You know, the bigs definitely are probably using social media. The littles, even if they don't have their own social media accounts yet, mom and dad and brother and sister are probably using it. So they're all very familiar with social media. And so what if we created kind of like an activity that felt like social media? This is one of the big things that I love about these types of activities. When you think about, see this one right here, this is an example of how we could do an activity that looks a lot like Instagram stories. You know, Instagram stories, you know, Instagram has this feature where you drop like a little picture from your day or a little video from your day, and then another picture and another video and another picture and another video. If somebody hits play on your Instagram story, it's just going to play it all the way through. It's one of the coolest features of Instagram, I think. And so I thought, how cool would that be if we could have students show what they've learned through an Instagram story? But of course, there are all of these roadblocks to having students like download the app and turn things in through Instagram stories, and then they like disappear after a day. And so how am I going to grade all of those? What if we just recreate it in Google Slides? So that's basically what I've done right here is I made this all out of, I downloaded a bunch of icons from one of my favorite places to get icons, which is the Noun Project. You can go to thenounproject.com and get some of these. And so basically, you know, I put like the little cell phone icon, I put the little profile picture icon and the little camera, I typed some text and everything. And so this slide looks like Instagram stories. This is what the app looks like whenever you use Instagram stories. So think about, what if your students did an activity like this? And of course, the prompt that you would ask them, the prompt is key. So like pretend, for instance, that we're studying Romeo and Juliet. What if you asked them a prompt like this? What if you asked, what do you think Juliet's Instagram story would look like in Act 2, Scene 2? I mean, isn't that a cool prompt? Isn't that the kind of thing that, you know, if you were a student that you would want to answer? And so what do they do here? Well, to make it feel like an Instagram story, what you can do is just plug pictures into these different slides. And by going down through the slides and putting a picture on each one or a video on each one, you're sort of telling the story and you're sort of demonstrating your understanding, showing what you know. And so I've got a little example right here. I took this one a little while back. But if I wanted to take a picture of myself, let's pretend like I wanted to pose like I was Juliet or Romeo or whatever it is that we're studying. There's a neat little feature inside of Google Slides that sometimes people don't realize is there. And so I wanted to share that with you real quick. If you go to the Insert menu and you come under Image, check this out. You can choose your camera down at the bottom. Have you ever tried this before? Like clicking on the camera? You click on the camera and you allow your camera. And look at this. It turns on my webcam right here. And I can snap a picture of myself going, I'm going to move over here to the side, going like. And so then I take that picture and I click on it and I insert it. And it goes right there. Oh, it's a little bit squished. Let's size it out that way a little bit. So I'll just kind of like make the size right so that it fits in the frame there. And so now we can put that little picture in there. If you want to type a little short caption, of course, you can use my write a message text right there and you can write it in there if you want. Another thing that's kind of fun to do with all of this is that you can use the Shapes button, and under the Shapes button, there are call outs. And you can draw one of these call out shapes onto your picture. So imagine I took this speech bubble and I draw this one on, and there's a speech bubble. Now check this out. If I grab the little yellow dot right next to it, I can drag it over to my face so it makes it look like I'm actually typing, or I'm actually talking. So then we can even have them think, or we could have them speak, or something like that. And so you start to kind of like package all of those together. Remember what our original prompt was? It was about what would Juliet's Instagram story look like in Act 2, Scene 2? Well, you could build out a whole bunch of pictures and like speech bubbles and text and all of that stuff. So when it comes to Google Slides, this is one of my favorite things to be able to do, is we can kind of like recreate things that students love, or even kind of like bring little elements of things that students love and put them onto these activities. So Instagram stories was one example of like social media type of activities like these. I've actually got I've got some templates that this is one of the templates, and then I've got some other ones that are kind of like social media, and I've got them all saved on a web page on my website, where if you like this idea, you can go and you can borrow these templates. You can actually assign them out to your students. Could you all handle some free Google Slides templates that I could give you that you could like give to your students tomorrow? Does that sound like a good idea? Okay, so let me take you there real quick. By the way, you can get to this link later, the one that I'm going to take you to in just a second. You can get to this link later right here on my document. P.S. If you're joining late, there's this link right here, ditch.link/GEG slides, which will take you to this document that I'm on right now. And it's got all of the things that I might talk about during this presentation. Anyway, as I was saying, where could you get that Instagram stories template? All right, I got a little bit of response there. Nadine's like, "Oh yes," and then we love templates. Love that. Yeah, I'm the same way. So if you want to get some of those free templates, this is the place that you want to go. You want to use this link right here. And so if you click on this and you go to this link, it's going to bring up my Google Slides template library on my website. Check out this line right here. Don't do the work if you don't have to. Like, can I get an amen to that, right? Like, hey, if you're going to do the work for me, I'm all about that. If you scroll down a little bit, you can see these are all the different types of Google Slides templates that I have on my page. And so, in this case, we were talking about social media templates. And check this out right down here. Here's the Instagram stories template. If you want to download it, you just click through on this one and you make a copy of the Google Slides file. But then I've got a whole bunch of other ones too. There's the social media reply template. Here's a TikTok template where if you've got a video, it's kind of like a skin to make your video look like it's on TikTok. There's a couple of Snapchat games that you can get. The Yelp review template, the Spotify playlist template, like all of these fit under the social media heading. And so this is part of the reason that I love Google Slides so much, is that it allows us to make things that look like stuff that students love and make the learning kind of feel like that. So in this case, learning can kind of feel like Instagram or TikTok or Snapchat or Yelp or Spotify or whatever. So that's one thing that I really love. Of course, if you take any of these templates, like let's say, for instance, that you take the Instagram stories template and you scroll down a little bit to where it says, get the Google Slides template. You're just going to click on that link and make a copy of it. And then that copy will live in your own Google Drive. And so then how do you get that out to your students? If you use Google Classroom, this is super easy. All you do is you just create an assignment and you just attach that Instagram stories template to the assignment. Just attach it to the assignment. And on that little attachment, there's a little drop down that says, I bet a lot of you have used this drop down before, make a copy for each student. You just make a copy for each student. Each one gets a copy of it. And then when they're done, they just turn it into you. Easy peasy. So that's one of my favorite ways to do it, is to kind of like recreate the experience of doing social media or doing any number of things. So let's go on to another one. One other thing that I really like about Google Slides is that you can set up an activity for students to do that's kind of like a hands-on, interactive, movable, draggable, fill in the blanks, type of activity. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So I've got an example here. By the way, this example that I'm going to talk about, by the way, also, I did already talk about the Instagram stories template. So I'm going to bold that one. And then I've also got, I'm going to talk about this one next. So I'm going to bold this. And the one that I'm going to show you is the spring break example. This is the first one. So if you're on the document here and you want to kind of click through and see what that looks like, you can pop it up on your own device, or you can just watch it here on the video. That's okay too. The spring break example. So this is an activity that you can create, or you can create something similar to this on Google Slides. So this activity right here, this is just like if you came back from spring break, or if you're getting ready to go on spring break, like that kind of thing. This could just be a fun little like community building, get to know your students type of activity is the ideal spring break activity. It's a really simple activity. It's just got 2 tasks in it. So if you assign this out to your students, and the way that I've got it set up right here, the students would probably, it'd be like the same type of thing we did earlier, where you put it in Google Classroom in an assignment and you make a copy for each student. So the student opens it up and they've got 2 tasks. Task number 1, actually, you know what? I want to make a quick copy of this so that I don't, mess up my original. So task number 1 that we'll see, let's just look at it on here, is this. First, drag these images to the right to show what your spring break vacation preferences would be. Now, what you'll notice is that I've got these 5 pictures sitting here. These are all different places that you could go on spring break. You could go to the beach, you could go to the mountains, you could go to the city. You could stay on your couch and watch Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever it is that you're going to watch. Or you could go to the mall. Now, those are just the 5 pictures that I've put up there. Depending on your students, what you might even tell them is if you want to get creative and you want to go insert an image and go search the web and find for your own pictures, then that's totally okay. So then what do they do? Let me come over to this copy here so that I don't mess up my original. They drag them over. So for me, the mountains are actually my number 1. Somebody tell me in the comments which one would be your number 1. Oh, look at this. The comment comes up. What would you put in your number 1? Yeah, I'm curious about that too. So the mountains for me would be number 1. Beach would be number 2. And then I think the city would be number 3. See, I live out in the middle of nowhere. I live in Park County, like right in between Purdue and Indiana State, and it is very remote. If I want to go get Starbucks, I have to drive 40 minutes. Okay, so that kind of tells you where I live. So this was my first my first piece of this activity was to drag the images. And then the second piece, notice where it says next here. It says next, write a brief description of what your ideal spring break would be. I left the words would be off here, but that's okay. And so then I've just got a little text box down here. So I might say my ideal spring break would be in the mountains. My family and I. Actually, you know what? I'm talking while I'm typing. Let me demonstrate something cool to you that you may or may not know about. Oh, no, you know what? Yeah, I think I can do this in the speaker notes. So I'm just going to copy and paste. Watch this. Under the tools, look at this. Voice type speaker notes. Have you ever seen this before? Check this out. I'm going to delete this out real quick so that I can. Okay, so I come down here to the speaker notes and I go tools, voice type speaker notes, and look, it pops open this little microphone. Watch what happens when I use this microphone when I click on it. You ready for this? My ideal spring break vacation would be in the mountains, period. My family and I love to go to Rocky Mountain National Park, period. We would hike the trails and spend the whole day out in the park, period. Turn off the microphone. Check that out. Pretty cool, right? Now, if you're in Google Docs, you can just go to tools and you can turn on voice typing and it'll help you type in your document. But if you've got slides, it'll only let you do it in the speaker notes. You know what I'll do here? I'm just going to cut that. I'm going to stick it into I'm just going to paste it into my text box right there. Boom, done, just like that. If you didn't know that was there, now you know it's there. So see, check this out. Is this the kind of thing, if you're watching this, is this the kind of thing that you think you could replicate? You could remake something like this? Now, I will tell you this. There is one little trick that I did to make this a little bit more user-friendly for students. And so here's what it is. Have you ever set up an activity like this before and you've got text boxes on it and you've got some other stuff on it and a student accidentally like takes something important and they delete it just like that? And then all of a sudden they're like calling you over, or they've like moved this thing over here and they're like, ah, and it freaks them out. And then there's like 3 or 4 kids that are all going, ah, just like that. And you've got to go like troubleshoot all of that stuff. What I love to do is I love to lock a lot of this stuff, like the things that I don't want students to edit. I love to lock those in the background. So look at this. If I try to click on the words, my ideal spring break, I don't know if you can hear my mouse clicking, but I'm like trying to click on those words and it won't click. Now the images will click. The text box will click. The text box where they're going to type their name will click, but none of the other stuff will. You know why that is, right? It's because I created a background image that I used to lock all of these things into place. Let me show you how to do it real quick. I'm going to start with a blank slide. So let's just pretend that this one up here doesn't even exist, okay? So we're just starting from scratch. I would draw in the title. In the interest of time, I'm not going to like totally make this exactly like the other one, but I'm going to put a couple of the key elements in there. I'm going to use the shapes, draw in a rectangle, because remember I had those 3 rectangles over there. Control D to duplicate. Control D to duplicate. And then I could take this and I could put in my text, you know, and so you can see like I have text up here, I have text down here, and I have those boxes over here. Those are the things that I wanted to lock into place because those are the things that students don't need to edit. Here's the trick. Here's what you do. You get this blank slide and you put all of the things on it that you don't want students to edit. And then you go File, Download as an image file. I always like to do the PNG image file. I feel like if you have text on your slide and you want to save it as an image, like the text doesn't get as like blurry with a PNG image as a JPEG. That's just in my experience. I don't know. Plus, if you save it as a PNG image, if you have any transparency in it, the transparency will save. So I save it as a picture. So boom, this slide right here saved as a picture right down there. So what do I do next? This next step is going to seem kind of counterintuitive, but this is what you want to do. Highlight everything on the slide and delete it. I promise that's what you want to do. So what do you do next? Take this background button, click the background button, choose an image, and remember this slide, this picture of the slide that we just downloaded? I'm going to drag it over here onto the upload feature and look at this. There's that same slide that I just made, only now I can't edit the text. I can't move around the boxes. See, I'm trying to click and drag them and I can't. So then from there, we can take the things that we do want students to move around and we can put them on the slide and see now it's shaping up to be this interactive activity where students can move things around, they can type text, but the parts that they don't need to move, that they don't need to edit, are locked in place. Kathy just asked a great question on Facebook. She says, I've always used the background image as well. However, could you also use the master slide? I'm trying to decide if that would save time, especially if you needed to change the background later. The answer to that is a definite yes. I always like to show this first because this, I think, is the easiest way to do it, especially if you're going to do a one slide activity. However, if you did want to use the master slide, let's go to view the master. Now, what you could do, see all of these pre-created layouts, these layouts look familiar, don't they? And they look familiar because under layout, that's what all of these are, right? Did you know that you could edit these? Well, so we're going to go back up and view the master slide. And so, Kathy, what you could do is you could create one of these layouts. You could make a new layout, or you could kind of like redo one of them here and put your title up at the top. And you could put your, remember I had rectangles. off to the side, off to the side, off to the side. And anything that you put on the master slide, students can't move around. Well, unless they go view the master and then they go and change that around, but most of them probably won't do that. So you could totally do that, Kathy. And the neat thing about that is that you could make one activity here, and you can make another activity here, and you can make another activity here, and make different master slides for each one. And then check this out. Under layout, see, there's the one that I just made right there. You can even rename them if you want to. And all of your activities could show up right here under layout if you wanted to. Or whenever you add a new slide, there's this little drop down next to it. You can choose which kind you want to add as your new slide. And so I could add one of those right there and see, look, there it is right there. Good question. Glad you asked. Okay. Sticking to the same idea of the movable, draggable activity, I want to try to show you something. If you've been watching all of this and you're like, Matt, I know this is good stuff. This is good stuff, but I knew this. I knew how to set the background. I knew that you could set up templates. I want to try to show you something. If you're like high-end user and you're looking for something that you just didn't know about slides or drawings for that matter, here's the thing that I want to show you. I'm going to take a chance here and say that maybe this is the thing that you may not have known. This is another draggable activity that I'm going to show you. P.S. Did you know that if you click on the little magnifying glass right here and you click and drag, it will zoom to those spots right there? Okay, here's the thing I wanted to show you. By the way, what I did with this activity was I found a picture. This is a picture of a presidential inauguration. I'm not totally sure which president that is, but I set it as the background image. And then I drew in all of these shapes next to it. This is another kind of cool interactive activity you can do. I made these shapes. The first one over here on the side, I used the arrow shape to draw that in. And then these guys up here, check this out. This is if you want students to circle something on the picture. All I did with that was I drew in a circle shape, and then I went to town over here with the customization. Change the fill color to transparent. Change the border color to yellow, and then I made the border like 12 points so it was nice and big. Now this next thing, this is something that sometimes people don't realize. Watch this. You can make these shapes over here that are almost like colored magnifying glasses. So check this out. What if I said, I want you to take the yellow magnifying glass and put it over the president? They click and drag it over, and look at that. You can see through it, but it's yellow. I want you to take the red magnifying glass and put it over the Washington Monument. Boom, red one right there. I want you to take the blue one, and I want you to put it over, I don't know, whatever building this is back here. And you put it in right there. And so you look at this and you go, holy cow, Matt, how in the world did you make those things transparent? Let me show you. It has to do with custom colors. Sometimes people miss this, okay? So I'm going to recreate one of these from scratch. Let's use the shapes. Right here under shapes, the ones that I made there were circles. So I'm going to choose a circle. It says oval. I'm not going to make it an oval. I'm going to make it a circle. So I'm going to make it a perfect circle just like this. Let's change the border width to 12. That's what I did over here. I think it was 12. And then we do the fill color. Here's the trick. This is going to be the last trick in my bag of tricks because we're running out of time. Watch this. I hit fill color and I go down to the custom and I hit plus. Watch this. If I want to make a blue one, because, you know, if you have to pick a color that a magnifying glass is going to be, a lot of times you pick blue. I pick a nice light blue color over here, and then check this out, transparency. This is the only place that you can change the transparency so that it's semi-transparent. I dragged it over here to about 50%, and I hit OK. And now look at this. It's got that half transparent thing, which is kind of cool, right? What, of course, you can also do with these is if you bring them over and you overlap them, now you can start to make colors, right? So there's an orangish color. There's kind of a purplish color. We can do kind of a greenish color, sort of, kind of. If you probably played with the colors a little bit more, you can make it a little more like it's supposed to look. So, and the neat thing about this is you can have students, you know, drag certain colors to certain things. What they can even do is take an arrow shape and double click it, just like I did. And so that whenever you double click a shape, there's a little text box that's inside of it. And so you could put the president, and then they could drag this onto the picture, and I assume that the president is in there somewhere. Have them annotate that picture all up, and then they're finished. They could go turn it into you. Cool stuff, right? Hopefully there was something in there that was useful to you that you didn't know already. Shana, did you see something that you didn't know?
Yeah, I was just thinking for some of I've used the transparent shapes, but not really in the way you're using them.
Yeah.
So I was thinking like with our younger students who are trying to read, virtually right now, when I was teaching in person, I had these like yellow discs that they would put over word lines and text to help them focus on the line. Yeah. So if you made a rectangle, they could follow text better on the page virtually.
That's smart. I didn't even think about that. That's brilliant. Yeah, I love that idea.
So I even learned something great here that I can take back tomorrow and use. And all the resources you shared, I think, are a really great takeaways. So we appreciate you taking your time tonight. And if there's any final questions for Matt, if you want to put them in the chat, we're happy to take a second and answer them for a minute. So thank you all again. And this has been awesome.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for inviting me. I had a blast hanging out here.
All right, I don't know if we see anything coming in, but feel free to share with your friends. After today, this will kind of live on our Indiana Google Educator Group YouTube channel. So if you want to go back and rewatch or share with people who weren't able to join live, feel free to refer them there and encourage them to join our Facebook group or follow us on Twitter for more content that we'll be sharing.
All right. Sounds good. Hey, thanks, Sarah, Nadine, Kathy, everybody else that's been in the chat. I see Kelly in there too. Thank you all so much for joining. It's been fun hanging out with you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great night.